stop what you're doing because this episode of the Celebrity Traitors was an absolute storm of suspense, heartbreak, and jaw-dropping gameplay. If you thought last week was wild, you have not seen anything yet. Big names went down, missions got sabotaged, tensions skyrocketed, and we finally got the juicy traitor reveals that everyone's been dying for. Let's break down every second of episode 6, twists, betrayals, emotional exits, and the moments that shattered what we thought we knew about these beloved celebrities. Strap in, because this recap is going to take you straight into the blizzard of horror and out the other side. Right from the start, episode 6 lays out that the faithfuls are absolutely struggling. We lose 3 more faithful members this week, and everyone's suspicions seem to be climbing higher than ever. But still, those traitors are somehow lurking right under everyone's noses. Even Celia can't help but marvel at their skill, calling them unbelievable, and admitting she can't figure out how they're pulling it off so well. You can see the faithfuls getting desperate, wishing for some outside help, maybe a friend just to get a nudge in the right direction. But in Traitors, it's all about trusting your own instincts, so no such luck. The episode lets us in on some seriously tense moments behind the scenes, with both the audience and the cast feeling just as lost as the faithfuls in the game. The castle atmosphere is getting heavier, the paranoia infecting every relationship, and it's clear that being a celebrity doesn't make the guessing any easier. In fact, maybe just harder. The episode's chessboard mission becomes a battlefield, not just for winning cash but for testing loyalties. What lets the drama shoot off the charts is Nick and Joe Marler's secret sabotage of the mission, a move that throws everyone into a spin. Nick, sharp as ever, seems to be trying to catch a traitor red-handed, but his plan isn't crystal clear to anyone watching, including the rest of the faithfuls. The episode dedicates some major time to the dramatic exits. We see Stephen Fry, Mark Bonnar, and Joe Wilkinson all face their fate, each having a unique response to being banished or murdered. Stephen Fry's exit is maybe the most emotionally complex. He calls it inevitable and admits he just lost all sense of judgment in the game. Ed Gamble sits down with Stephen, teasing the upcoming reveal of who betrayed him, and gets Stephen's wild guesses: Joe Marler, David Olusoga, and Kat Burns. Stephen's rationale is classic mind, game logic. Joe started off shy, but now is steering the group. Kat's too quiet, David's eerily in control. But when Ed hands over the scroll and Stephen sees the true traitors, Jonathan Ross, Kat Burns, and Alan Carr, his reaction is sheer disbelief and grudging admiration. Jonathan is a big dog who played everyone. Kat has gotten away with everything by staying sleepy and low-key. And Alan, well, Alan's just Alan, and everyone loves him even as he manipulates the game. Stephen looks back on his time in the castle and admits it was like nothing he's ever done in his 40 years on TV. He recounts getting recognized everywhere, even at bus stops and building sites, because people are hooked on the drama and want to know who he'll banish next. He talks about the exhaustion from the physical missions and how being teamed up with a rugby prop still didn't make things easier. They're all in the same boat, physically and mentally. Stephen jokes about giving himself asthma attacks in school to avoid sports, which just underscores how out of his element he felt, but also how much he threw himself into the challenges when it really counted. Then there's Mark Bonnar, who leaves the game through banishment in a way nobody saw coming. See a double deadlock. For the first time in Traitors UK history, the round table vote ends in a deadlock, and the fate of Mark and David hangs on a tense shield reveal. When they open the chests at the same time, chance alone decides who goes, and Mark ends up the one leaving. It's a gutting, almost unfair exit, and Mark admits he never could sit back and be cool. He tried to read everyone, but in hindsight, probably should have been more subtle. The accusations fly around at the round table, especially from Joe Marler and Alan Carr, with everyone trying desperately to root out the traitor among them. Ed presses Mark for his own traitor guesses. Mark thinks Joe Marler could be one. With his inscrutable humor and careful way of speaking, maybe Nick, and possibly Alan or one of the big personalities like Jonathan or Stephen. But, as Ed reveals, Mark was totally wrong about Kat, thinking she was 100% faithful. The curse of trusting the quiet one strikes again when Mark sees Jonathan, Kat, and Alan named as traitors. It's pure astonishment. He admits Jonathan played incredibly well, saying, "Well played, man." The game's tension gets so personal that even grown-ups in a castle are basically facing the firing squad, and Mark says it truly feels that heavy. Up next is Joe Wilkinson, who was murdered and didn't make it to the studio, but Ed caught up with him for his hilarious, deadpan take on the game. Joe became close friends with Joe Marler and got a kick out of people reading into his every move, though in his words, he affected nothing for days. Kat joked that Joe spoke like every letter was lowercase, making no impact at all. Joe's guesses for traitors are Jonathan, Kat, and maybe Celia, the last based on the logic that Celia's cleverness has to be self-referential. When Ed reveals the names, Joe actually gets 2 out of 3 right, but sadly, no one ever listened to him at the round table. Joe gripes, very funnily, that if people paid attention, the whole thing would have ended much sooner. In his special video message, Joe laments we never see the snooker room and jokes about missing turret time, proving he'd have loved to play as a traitor just for the scheming. There's a fiercely funny moment when Alan forgets he has a shield, which should make him a sitting duck in the game, but instead everyone just shrugs and goes. That's Alan. It's a running theme. Alan's likability and natural charm make everyone overlook even the most obvious clues, letting him slip deeper into the game undetected. Toward the end, attention turns to who will be murdered next. Nick is seen as the biggest threat. His ability to strategize and see through the smoke is a worry for the traitors. Lucy as well finally cottons on that maybe the most obvious answer is Jonathan. Meanwhile, Kate Garraway, previously under suspicion, now has the group realizing her big laugh and energy are just part of her personality, not hidden malice. The show wraps with everyone agreeing the emotional intensity this season is through the roof. Those celebrity egos, rivalries, and friendships mean the betrayals hit harder, and the game is tougher. And the fact that people like Jonathan Ross and Alan Carr are the ones fooling everyone is proof the Celebrity Traitors is a masterclass in deception. The ending sets things up for even more fireworks in the next episode, with everyone on edge and second-guessing every friendly face. To sum it all up, Episode 6 of Celebrity Traitors brought devastating banishments, first ever double deadlock drama, and the unmasking of legendary players as traitors. The faithful are struggling, old alliances are torn apart, and every character's strengths and quirks come into play in new, brutal ways. The missions, mind games, and banter make this episode an absolute must-watch. If you love this breakdown, let me know in the comments who you think is playing the best game and which twist blew you away the most. Don't forget to smash that like button, share this recap with your fellow Traitors fans, and hit subscribe for all the inside scoops, because next week's episode is bound to be even wilder. Stay faithful and see you on the next one.